week again on a Thursday. Football returning to us in the NFL, in college as well. Got a ton to talk about. Obviously, more about this Alabama-Georgia game that's coming on. But we got USC, Wisconsin, Ole Miss, Kentucky, Rutgers, Washington, Indiana, Maryland. Hell, even UAB, Navy. It's never a bad slate. We're really excited for the games this weekend. Before we get into the show today, watch the first episode of The Penguin last night on, was it HBO Max? Mm-hmm. Whatever, Blaine came over. I'm telling you right now, it's the same one that was in the Robert Pattinson Batman. It's Colin Farrell. It's one episode in. It's going to be a banger. It's going to be an
How many episodes are out?
Just one.
Just one.
Oh, so it's a pilot.
Just one.
Yeah. So it's,
but the full season's coming out, right?
Oh, yeah. I think it comes. What day does it come out? That's what we were saying.
I don't know. It's usually probably a Wednesday or Thursday. I don't know if they're doing it one time a week or 2 episodes a week. I have to look that up. But you can always tell if a series is going to be good. Most of the time, that first episode's jumping.
Yeah, and you cannot tell it's Colin Farrell. It's so well done. He's doing such a good job. So if you haven't seen it, check that bad boy out. But let's get to the sports. USC defensive lineman Bear Alexander announces he's going to sit out the rest of the season at USC. Dave Portnoy says he's going to pay $3 million per year for Michigan to get an elite quarterback. And we break down the keys to victory for Alabama, Georgia, Wisconsin, USC, and so much more, plus take your calls. I'm Jake Crain. Welcome to the Thursday edition of Crain and Company. Picking the Alabama-Georgia game, especially lately, it's always a tough task because the margin for error is so small in this game due to the amount of talent on each roster and just how damn good both of these coaching staffs are. But somebody has to win. And this game most likely is going to come down to 3 to 5 plays. And with Georgia, many people are questioning their ability to stop the run after the performance against Kentucky, even though they're getting healthier in the front seven. But I don't worry as much about Kirby Smart's defense like I don't worry about Lincoln Riley or Steve Sarkisian's offense. He's going to have the best plan possible, him and Glenn Schumann, and they have the guys to sturdy it up and fix it. What does concern me about Georgia, though, is their lack of ability to be explosive offensively. The odds of them, even with all the talent they have, being able to methodically drive the ball down the field 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 plays or more and score a touchdown against Alabama or anybody worth their salt is pretty low. You need chunk plays in the run and pass game to be able to score enough to win a game like this. And I just haven't seen them really be able to do that yet. Now, could they in Tuscaloosa on Saturday? Yes, they could. But I've got to see it to believe it. Now, Alabama, on the other hand, has shown the ability to be explosive on offense due to Jalen Milroe's ability to run and throw well while moving. Alabama doesn't need Jalen to sit in the pocket all day and turn into something that he isn't. Move him around in the run game, get your Q counter, your power read, Q power, all that, and then let him create if the first couple of reads aren't there. The biggest question for Alabama in my mind is can they play clean in the penalty and turnover department, which we've only really seen them do once this year, and that was on the road at Wisconsin. If Alabama relapses back to making those mistakes, Georgia's got a pretty damn good chance to win this game. But I think Alabama plays clean enough, and they hit 3 of those 5 big plays to win. What's going to be another knockdown, drag-out matchup between these two Goliaths of college football. So give me the Crimson Tide, 27-20 in the first matchup between Kalen DeBoer and Kirby Smart. David Cohn, former Michigan quarterback, my brother, former Western State, Colorado wide receiver. Reminder, quickly, we are going to be live streaming the Alabama-Georgia game from Innisfree, the bar right by the stadium. So if you're not going in the game, come out over there and hang out. We're going to be breaking it down, talking to you guys, having a good old jolly time either way. But, David, when you look at this game, we've broken it down. We've talked about it all week. It's probably the biggest game of the college football season so far. Where are you leaning right now on who do you think comes out on top and why?
Well, I'll save my official pick, I guess, until we get to game day. Blaine and I were talking about that earlier, but I am really interested in the schematics of the game still. I think it's sort of unusual. I think for Georgia to beat Alabama, they need to do what we would usually tell other teams to do to be able to beat Georgia. I think they find themselves on the other end of this. I mean, just for instance, the Kentucky game, right? Kentucky won the time of possession against Georgia by 11 minutes. That's kind of surprising. Not only that, Kentucky won total yards. Kentucky won rushing yards. They won third down. They only lost turnovers, and that's one of the reasons that Georgia was able to win that game. And I say that because it seems like Georgia's best chance to win the game is when the other quarterback on the other team, Jalen Moreau, is on the sidelines, right? So keep him on the sidelines as much as possible. And I think the best way to do that is obviously Georgia having success in the run game and chewing a lot of clock. That's an area where you can win. I think that's an area where Alabama's defense has proven to be vulnerable. They gave up 200 yards of rushing to South Florida, 150 rushing yards to Wisconsin. Georgia can run the football. When Jalen Moreau is on the field for Alabama, that's where things get really interesting. I think you're going to see a lot of the same things that we saw in the SEC championship game that led to Georgia getting 4 sacks on Jalen Moreau. Now, they still lost the football game, so take that with a grain of salt. But I think you're going to see some of this rush 3 and spy 2, or possibly rush 4 but keep 1 spy, layered, like bringing pressure in a layered way. Georgia brought a lot of pressure against Kentucky, and Brock Vandagriff was able to escape the pocket and hit them for some big runs. If Brock Vandagriff's able to do it, you might as well go ahead and give Jalen Moreau 6. So I think they're going to be very multiple in the way that they're bringing this pressure in order to still get down linemen to Jalen Moreau, but not allowing him to escape on the outside. And again, like what I talked about in our preview is what kind of coverage are you then playing behind that? I think if you play a lot of man coverage against Jalen Moreau, he's just going to eat you alive. One, because that's the best that he is through the air, deep balls, vertical shots, and that's easier against man coverage. But then also if you turn your back, then he escapes out of the pocket. So I would expect a lot of these sort of like spy looks while bringing pressure and then zone pressure or zone coverage behind it.
Blaine, we always talk about winning the water cooler here on the show, and it's looking at, what's underneath just the obvious of, well, you need to run the ball well, you need to tackle well in space. Is there a part of you that thinks there's a chance, maybe in a game like this, with a quarterback like Jalen Moreau, that somebody will say, well, can he be a true NFL quarterback with his throwing ability? That he says, you know what, I'm going to prove tonight that I am an NFL passer, that I can sit in the pocket and dissect and just throw the check down and not just take off, which I think is the wrong way to go about it in this game. Is there any semblance of a worry in your mind that maybe Jalen Moreau is going to try and prove a point in this game instead of just doing what is not saying he's trying to lose the game or anything, but that they're not going to do what's in the best interest of the most efficient way for them to move the football, and that's using his strength, his legs?
I don't think so. I think the coaching staff, Jalen knows exactly who he is, and I think the coaching staff does a good job of putting him in winning situations and not trying to turn him into something that he's not. That would be Georgia's dream, right? Georgia's dream is to turn Jalen Moreau into a quarterback, a classic quarterback. If it's me, Jalen Moreau, you're going to have to go 10-plus plays. All right, you're going to have to go through progressions, and you're going to have to beat me that way. To me, I don't know if I heat up Jalen Moreau. I really don't. If it's me, I sit back, I'll bring 4. We'll see if we can get there with 4, but you can't get past Jalen Moreau. If you rush past Jalen Moreau, your life's going to be in trouble for 4 quarters, and I think Georgia's too well coached to do that. So I don't think there'll be a lot of blitzing in this game, especially with the weather, the way it's going to be. And another thing, I'll lean on the other side, and trust me, I've been very harsh on who Stetson Bennett was at Georgia. The one thing Stetson Bennett could do was make big plays at big moments. Sooner or later, Carson Beck is going to have to be the difference. Everybody before the year started was slated this guy as the number 1 quarterback coming out, the number 1 pick, and right now, in the Clemson game, I really wasn't impressed. He has to make big plays, and big plays especially on third downs, making a guy miss in the backfield, making a really tough throw, because this Alabama defense...
And running when it's there, because Carson, he's not... he's not paraplegic. No, he can run, but it's not as explosive.
Yeah, and Stetson had great feel when it comes to that. And look, the more you look at this game, I'm not going to give up my pick right now. I think the weather's going to play a huge factor into this. I want to see what the weather's going to be like before the game starts. But it's tough because Georgia, you have to keep Jalen to be a true quarterback. If he beats you, he's got to update. If he beats you somewhere outside the pocket in his feet, it's going to be a long day. So I go with David. Schematically on defense for Georgia is what I'm interested in from a bringing pressure standpoint and actually sitting back in coverage.
And we want to know what you think in the chat, but I want to bounce this off you too, because obviously when you have a game like this at this point in the season, you don't have a humongous sample size, but we do know a couple things. We watched Georgia play Clemson, right? We've seen Alabama play a USF team that was pretty tough, and then Wisconsin. Say what you want about the quarterback position with Van Dyke going down, but we kind of know. What gives you more confidence, David? Watching the way that Georgia played against Clemson or watching the way that Alabama played on the road at Wisconsin? Because I know Clemson's been blowing the scoreboard up against App State. We watched what they did against NC State. But I go back to my point offensively with Georgia. There still wasn't a lot of explosive plays. It was kind of just the dam just broke against Clemson. Meanwhile, Jalen Milroe's bombs over Baghdad against Wisconsin. And I know Clemson's better than Wisconsin. I'm not saying that. But again, I don't take a ton of solace if I'm a Georgia fan in the way we played offensively throughout that game against Clemson.
Well, I think the answer to your question is Georgia against Clemson. That win is looking better and better when we've seen how Clemson's looked on offense. The Appalachian State game, Appalachian State doesn't look that great this year, but to be able to piece it together multiple weeks and the way that they looked over NC State, which, look, Tennessee did the same thing to them. So we're getting larger sample sizes every single week. But still, I think that was a very impressive win. And yeah, Blaine tweeted at halftime, I'm not seeing a lot of separation on the outside by Georgia's wide receivers. They still ended up blowing out Clemson. I think that's a really good win. I also think, guys, it was important for Georgia to barely beat Kentucky the week before they go on a bye, the week before they go to Tuscaloosa. I mean, if there's anyone who's going to have a team dialed in after a performance like that, it's going to be Kirby Smart and the Georgia Bulldogs coming into Tuscaloosa. There was one other thing I wanted to say. I can't remember. Oh, the weather. I don't know if bad weather benefits one team over the other right now.
Do you think it would benefit Georgia more just because the bad weather, and I get it makes it harder for defenders to run, but I think it makes quarterbacks a little bit more cognizant about taking off, and it kind of slows the game down.
Maybe.
The vertical ball is a little bit different.
But they didn't play well against Kentucky when it rained.
Yeah,
that was a game.
Well, I think I'm talking about that from the Alabama explosive play standpoint down the field in the vertical passing game. I think bad weather hurts that. I think it helps Georgia. I think bad weather slows down Jalen Milroe a little bit in the grand scheme of things and helps Georgia. So if I'm a Georgia fan, would I mind if it was raining pretty hard? I know, and Blaine's brought up this point that Georgia's thrown the ball a lot. They look like a throw to a run team. But I feel like the biggest advantage in this game is Alabama's offense against Georgia's defense, and the rain or bad weather or wind could kind of even that out to where it does turn into a methodical, field goals type game.
Which is why I said we're saying the same things about Georgia being able to beat Alabama that we usually say about teams trying to beat Georgia. Well, hope that the weather's ugly. Hope that you can control the football a long time to keep their offense on the side. Like, all of those things are what we usually say for South Carolina or Arkansas or Kentucky to be able to beat Georgia. I don't think it's that one-sided. Georgia's still favored as we wake up this morning.
That's another. That's like everybody I've heard, everybody I listen to that's in the sports media world is picking Alabama to win this football game.
Does that scare you?
I just approach it with caution.
I think J.D. Pickell picked Georgia.
I approach it with caution because, don't get confused about the Kentucky game. Go look the last 3 years. Georgia and Kentucky play weirdly close. Weirdly close. Georgia is running around with athletes, NFL players on this football team. You might not hear the names like you're used to hearing, especially on the D-line, which they are banged up. But this is a team that is too deep, that is full of monsters.
Well, I get that.
Especially on defense. So there's a reason Georgia's favored in this football game.
Oh, I understand. I'm not saying Georgia can't win the game. They may go out and hit 15 explosive plays. Who the hell knows? When you recruit your ass off at the level they have for so long, nobody has bad players. I just, again, and going back to that Kentucky game, I don't go back 3 years. I think it's different. Every year is different. Every circumstance is different. And it's not just the Kentucky game. I have not seen Georgia's offense this whole season pretty much against anybody that can walk on two legs and think at the same time, be able to hit a bunch of explosive plays like they're going to need to beat Bama, to beat Texas, to beat Ole Miss. Now, they might. But so far, I haven't seen it, and that includes at Kentucky. So I know Georgia has really good players. Nobody's doubting that. But Oscar Delp is not Brock Bowers. Dominic Lovett is not Ladd McConkey. I have not seen that guy or those guys that can say, you know what? we can catch the ball at 10 yards on the dig, break a tackle, and go score. I haven't seen him hit really huge chunk plays on the ground either. With ETN coming over and what they've had in the backfield. I know he was out against Clemson, but I don't think it's a crazy thing to say to look at how Georgia's played and say, who are the guy that's going to make the big plays in this game? And they might, but we haven't seen it yet.
And keep in mind, explosive plays can be made on defense as well. And I guarantee you in that defensive meeting room all week, and special teams, but that defensive meeting room in particular this week is saying, guys, we can turn Jalen Milroe over. Let's turn him over multiple times. Texas did it at Tuscaloosa a year ago. Now, Jalen Milroe's a lot different quarterback than he was early in the season last year when Texas came to town. But I know that they're saying we can turn him over. And if we turn him over, especially multiple times, whether that's a strip sack fumble, whether that's an interception, maybe even a pick six, take it to the house, we're going to give our offense a much better chance to win this football game.
It's going to be fascinating. We want to know what y'all think. The phone lines are going to open 2:45 p.m. Central, 1-855-236-3228. Make sure you hit that subscribe button as well. We are very excited to announce one of our new sponsors, our good friends over at Prize Picks.
Yes.
Let's go.
Incredibly excited. Prize Picks, they're America's #1 daily fantasy sports app. They have over 5 million active members. You guys probably have seen Prize Picks all over the place. They have absolutely blown up because it's an incredible product. It's the easiest and most exciting way to play daily fantasy sports. All you do, you download the app, all right, and you pick more or less on 2 to 6 player stat projections and watch the winnings roll in. For example, if you take Caleb Williams, right, in one of your lineups, if he gets 1 yard passing, all right, you win on Prize Picks every week in September. And remember, it's September's on its way out, so make sure you sign up, and I'm going to give you a promo code here in a second. You can now win up to 100 times your money on Prize Picks with as little as 4 correct picks. A lot of people are playing it. Drewski, Joe Budden, MMA champ Sugar Sean O'Malley's playing. You can find that in community plays as well. I'm telling you, we're going to start putting out our picks. It is such a fun way to do daily fantasy sports. The payout methods are versatile. It's easy. It's very organized. The app is incredibly interactive and easy to use. So make sure you download the Prize Picks app today and use code BOOSTER, BOOSTER, to get $50 instantly when you just play $5. So download the Prize Picks app, make an account, use promo code BOOSTER, and get $50 instantly when you play $5. We're going to be putting our Prize Picks lineups up here in a couple days. Make sure you check that out. We are super excited to have them on board. It really is a cool product, and we're going to have a lot of fun. You don't even need to win to receive the $50 bonus as well. It's guaranteed. Just wanted to throw that in there. Prize Picks, run your game, baby. So excited to get them on, guys. I know what.
Daily fantasy. Not just weekly. You don't have to wait till Sunday. Daily fantasy.
Daily fantasy. All right, let's get to the chat.
Chad, hit that like, hit that subscribe button. If you donate on topic, it will get read. We're going to start the day off with Jason Bowling. What's up, Jason? It says it comes down to the line of scrimmage play and critical turnovers. Turnovers have been crucial going back to the 2017 National Championship game. Which team makes more mistakes?
And look, turnovers, field position, we know that, the major pillars of how to win a game. And when you look at the line of scrimmage, now that Alabama is fully healthy on the offensive line, remember before we saw Fomby against South Florida held more than a Swiss bank for a gangster. There were a lot of problems in the penalty department coming from the offensive line. Alabama seemed to have stemmed that now that they had all their guys at Wisconsin. Can they keep that going? But I'm going to tell you, it's a lot harder to not hold the guys from Georgia than it is from Wisconsin, especially with Mikael Williams coming back and the rest of the Globonauts that Georgia has running around. That's why I made that point in the open. If Bama can play somewhat clean in the penalty department, because you're going to get physical penalties, there'll be a face mask, there'll be a pass interference, a defensive holding or something. Can you not turn the ball over? And when you do, can you answer a sudden change with a big moment? That's another thing, and Tennessee did a great job of that on the road against Oklahoma. Remember, Nico fumbled, then they turned him over right back. So this is going to be fascinating. But yeah, typically in this game, the cleanest team wins.
Let's go to Bobby Means. He says, I'm going to say this, Milroe's throwing against this UGA DB unit can be advantage Georgia because there has been times that he sports the ball. I like Georgia 28-20. I think Jalen has 2 turnovers. And I think Smart will cause a few in the red zone.
Well, that would be huge because I think points are going to be at a premium in this game. David, we talked about this with Tom Luganville yesterday. It's not the vertical ball that Jalen Milroe really has trouble with. He's an outfielder right now. He's great at throwing it from home to left field. But you put him at shortstop sometimes, you throw it to first, that ball will elevate. If he can clean up the intermediate passing game and the short passing game, especially, David, if the run's not working early, and that includes the quarterback run and obviously the running back, running it jet sweeps and all that, you can supplement the lack of a run game with a quick pass game, and Georgia can too.
Yeah.
But that makes it an easier throw a little bit.
You see a lot of now screens. You may even see a lot of traditional screens. I think that's where Kentucky.
You talked about that before we got on the show today. Just tell the people what you saw in that Kentucky.
Georgia brought so many 5- and 6-man pressures against Kentucky, and like I said, Brock Vandergriff escaped the pocket nicely on a couple of those for some big gainers. I'm just sitting there like, where's the screen? Dial up the screen. So I think you're going to see Nick Sheridan and Kalen DeBoer dial up all sorts of stuff. Traditional screens, tunnel screens, now screens. That's if the run game isn't working. But to your first point about Jalen Monroe throwing the ball so effectively and accurately down the field, it's really odd. And I'm saying this as a former quarterback. It's really odd to watch someone be so accurate with the deep ball, but then more inaccurate with the intermediate and short game. It's one thing if you just have a really strong arm and can throw it at far and you hit a couple deep shots. That was sort of the Joe Milton experiment, right? But he would overthrow a lot of those balls too. It wasn't like he got more accurate the further he threw it, even though it was impressive to watch how far he throws it. Jalen Monroe is eerily accurate when he throws the deep ball, and you get more of that against man coverage.
Yeah.
When you get vertical shots and overs and crossing routes. So that's why I say zone coverage is going to be more interesting for Georgia for me. I'm going to be watching to see how much zone coverage they're playing to see if Jalen Monroe can hit spots in the intermediate passing.
Well, and then that too on third down and passing and third down and long when the defense is sitting there screaming. And when we live stream the game in Innisfree, you're going to see me every time on third and long be saying, watch the screen, watch the draw, right? Because that's what you get a lot. To your point on the bringing 5, to me, once you bring 6, obviously you're sending, more than they can block usually unless they keep a tight end there or whatever. To me, that 5th, that insert, typically is a green dog when they realize the back maybe not being a route and they got the ability to go and say, hey, if the back's going to be in the backfield, which means, hey, if it's a slip screen to the running back, I'm still going to stick to the back because I can see it late. But it's those tunnel screens. It's those now screens when people are obviously rushing after the quarterback and you're kind of short porched in the back end where you could hit a huge play. If you block it up, A, but 2, if you break one tackle, you could score.
I'm so glad you brought that up because that was the case against Kentucky. And again, they may have had a specific plan because they knew Kentucky wasn't going to do that, right? Like they're going to play Alabama completely differently. But a lot of the 5-man pressures that I'm talking about and even some of the 6 was the green dog from the backers because they saw that either the tight end on split zone or the back in his blocking schemes was helping the offensive line. So they ended up bringing the backer. But you can still run screen off that.
No, you can 100%.
It's the best time to do
You can 100%.
Actually.
But in this game, is it smart to say, look, screw the green dog? How about you just turn into a spy?
And I think that's what they did in the SEC Championship.
Yeah, because I can still make the play on the screen.
I think that's what they did because Jalen Monroe's such a threat.
Man, it's going to be fascinating. All right, one more, then we got to move.
All right, let's go to the doghouse. What's up, brother? He says, sooner or later, Oscar Delp has to turn into that guy. Everybody last year thought he'd be the next Brock Bowers. He's done literally nothing this year.
And I've expected more. I expected more from him and really the tight end room in general, honestly, than what we've gotten. I do want to say, let's remember how good Brock Bowers is. Name me another guy like Brock Bowers that you've seen that could do the things. They could have put Brock Bowers at running back, and he could have been fine. You've seen what he's doing in the NFL. So, Oscar, asking him to be Brock Bowers, I think is a little bit too much. But asking him to be able to make the explosive play or catch the ball and break a tackle, that's where I've been most disappointed with Oscar Delp, is he really does nothing after the catch. It's catch, one guy swipes, I fall down. Brock Bowers could catch the ball, break 2 tackles, and go score, or catch the ball and outrun a safety to the corner or something like that. So he does need to do more, but I think asking him to be Brock Bowers may be a little bit of a bridge too far, but Doghouse, I see what you mean. Actually, let's go one more, Blaine. I'm liking this discussion here.
All right, let's go to Morgan Guffey. What's up, Morgan? He says, UGA couldn't run the ball against Kentucky. What makes you feel like they're going to be able to run the ball against Alabama?
Well, I think, look, and I don't mean any disrespect to Kentucky. I think Georgia's going to bring a little bit more oomph with them than they did against Kentucky. And that is not, again, saying that, they didn't care about Kentucky. Kirby Smart has, smashed in it's a faceless opponent to him. And to your point, I don't think it's a crazy thing to say. I just think Georgia's going to be a little bit more ready in the run game. You're going to get their best foot forward in this game. That doesn't mean it's going to work, but I think that they're going to, kind of present something better than what we saw against Kentucky. But David, speaking about presenting something better, man, what's going on with Bear Alexander and
you tell me,
USC, man?
Quit on his team.
I don't like this term, I'm voluntarily redshirting. I guess technically you can say that you're quitting on your team. You're quitting on your team. And this is a USC team that still has a chance to make the playoff, that still has a chance to, all their goals are in front of them. You lost to Michigan on the road. You're going to have chances, and you don't even have to win the conference to get in. USC is a big enough brand where if they go 10-2, they're probably going to be in the Big Ten. So you go back to what we saw yesterday with Sluka and UNLV, and I know that they're different situations, but these are both teams that are contending. And I don't think it would be right if you were, Minnesota Tech of the rambunctious and deaf. Like, this is just, it's your life. I mean, do what you want to do. But this is a guy that almost transferred in the spring to Texas, is what a lot of people thought. He went to, I think, 4 different high schools or whatever it was, but we watched Dylan Raiola, and he obviously doesn't have a problem. David, this to me is shocking. Like, not shocking to the point like I didn't expect to see this happen, but you're at USC? You're a big-time player at USC? You guys are still in playoff contention? And you're just going to shut it down?
Michigan broke this man. And we can sit here and blame the leadership or lack of leadership in college football. Like, I'm always down to do that because they haven't taken a leadership role in terms of the transfer portal or figuring out solutions to keep this from happening. But it's only going to get worse. It's only going to get worse even if NIL's not a part of the conversation. Just having guys randomly quit on the team. And for all the people yesterday with the UNLV situation who wanted to say, no, I'm team get your money, or what would you do if your job doesn't pay you, or no, this kid's right to do this. Well, what are you saying about this situation? We are raising a generation of quitters and just telling them it's fine. Just go ahead, quit on your team, pack your bags, move back. And I don't even know what happens from a logistical standpoint now, just in terms of, does USC have to allow him to continue being on the team and continue honoring his scholarship?
David, if it's me,
because then you can't transfer.
And I don't know,
you're not academically eligible,
what he signed or whatever. But this is why, again, when it comes to NIL contracts and stuff, if something like this happens, you should have to pay all the money back. But if I'm USC, your locker's gone. You will get no help resource-wise academically. Anything that we give our players that helps give them an advantage in anything, you get none of it. The part I don't understand, that I said yesterday when we opened the show, Blaine, is that there is no fear of what your teammates think anymore.
No.
There's none. I would have been, and I'm not saying people should get beat up in the locker room. That's not what I'm saying. I just don't, for the life of me, understand how, especially in a sport like football, where you have to put in so much work with these other guys. If you weren't playing and you were a 4th string guy, like the running back from UNLV yesterday, he's a 3rd, 4th string guy. I can kind of understand, hey, I'm not good. That's why a lot of guys have transferred before. I think that's an actual, somewhat of an honorable thing, because guess what all the guys in the locker room know? You're the 4th string guy. You want to go play. Guys, I want to go play. I want an opportunity to go play. I may have to go down a level or whatever, but I want to go play. This is a starter. This is somebody that they're counting on. This is supposed to be a guy that when you look at USC is one of the 3 or 4 you point at and say, this is the reason why we're going to have success. The fear of what your teammates think, I would be scared to death to do something like this, not because of a physical repercussion, but how I would be viewed by my peers. And I don't get it.
It's one, like, we need to realize that college football is a pay-to-play league now. It's basically what it is. We open this box, and this is what we're living with. 2, and is anybody surprised by this with Bear Alexander? I mean, just go look at the guy where he's been the last 7 years. It's a different team going back to high school. This isn't surprising. I don't know how this really correlates with the stuff that's going on at UNLV. I think it's kind of a different situation, in my opinion.
Well, it's the timing of the red shirt. That's what it is, because after you play a certain number, that's why we're going to see. And there was another one that came out just today. I can't even remember what school, but another kid. Again, the coaches should be announcing that a kid's not taking his red shirt if it's a situation like you're saying, and it's a backup, not the person coming out. But to your first point on, this is a pay-for-play league now, so everything's different. I'm getting so mad at even the thought process of that, because, like, nothing should be changing for the student athlete. Mm-hmm. No one's going to be trying to play better because they get paid now, right? Or you shouldn't be acting.
You were trying to make the NFL.
Like,
anyway.
I never got paid anything. I wasn't trying any less. You could have paid me $10 million a year or paid me nothing, which is why I was getting paid. And I was trying exactly the same. I was trying as hard as I possibly could. You're either about that or you're not. How you do anything is how you do everything. So to answer your second question, is anyone surprised by this because of how many times he transferred in high school and IMG Academy and then from Georgia? No, not really. But the good thing is good. You know what? If you don't want to play college football doesn't want you. Get out.
Yeah, and
There's
I agree.
plenty of guys who do want to play.
But we opened this
guys
box.
Who would be
we
great
opened this
play.
box.
Get out.
We opened this
Go
box.
home.
But guys, here's the saddest part of all this. Matthew Sluka may complete 43% of his passes. He may not get taken by another team that's as good as UNLV. He's not going to be an NFL quarterback. Could maybe be a tight end, I actually think. But somebody's going to take Bear Alexander.
Yeah, they will.
Somebody good's going to take him because they need him, whether that's Texas that's already rolling, that wants another big-time DL that says, you know what, you're going to come in here and absorb all our culture. Like, we're going to be able to fix this problem or whatever. Or if it's somebody like in Auburn who needs these type bodies and these type players to be able to bridge the gap. Guys are going to get away with it. And because big-time players get away with it, it's going to keep happening. But I go back to, your team is in contention, dog. You play at USC, one of the biggest brands in college athletics. Home of Reggie Bush, Matt Leinart. I can go all the way back with USC. This isn't SCLSU. This isn't Belmont. It just, if they're going to do this at USC, then
there has to be something put in contracts.
But even then, I was thinking about this last night too. We see contracts in the NFL. Guys just sit out. Guys sit out. Like I said yesterday, they'll sign a 5-year contract. If they don't get an extension after year 3, well, I'm not going to sit. I'm going to sit out now, and I'm not going to play. So look, it's the mentality of the culture and the society that we're in at this point. I'm
going to quickly go to the chat on this before we get to the NFL.
Okay, let's go to Duty Price. What's up, man? He says, it's easy to say that when you weren't getting paid and that option wasn't available to you back in the day.
What's easy to say?
That you would give the same amount of effort when you aren't getting paid as to when you're getting paid. I don't. Then why would you even at that point? Why would you even play then if you have that mindset?
Easy to say if what?
If it's easy to say that because players couldn't get paid in NIL back when you played, as opposed to now.
Like, who's trying harder? Who's trying? Like, I wouldn't be working even in this job right here. I wouldn't be working any harder at this job if they paid me $20 million a year.
Well, we worked
because I'm working as hard as I possibly can.
We worked the same at the J-Boy show. When
I was thinking about that. I'm glad you brought that up. When you started the J-Boy show, day one, how much money were you making?
Nothing.
Nothing. I didn't make anything to work on the J-Boy show for a year. Nothing. And that was when my wife was pregnant with our first child. I didn't make $1. It could have easily been like, man, I got to go put in 2.5 hours of work on today's J-Boy episode for no money. I don't think I'll do that because that's a bad business decision. And now look where we are.
Yeah,
you're either about that or you're not.
Yeah, I don't like that mindset. I disagree with you there.
Let's go to Jeff Godin. What's up, Jeff? I don't think he makes a lateral/upward move. You can't find that much playing time in USC's D-line rotation. He's definitely not going to be able to find that in a better rotation.
I think he's going to end up at Texas. Just watch. Just watch. All right, you say that, and this isn't a look.
You can't play for USC's defensive line.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't think that's the reason. Because remember, he almost left in the spring. Don't forget that as well. And then remember, Lincoln Riley's like, there's not a story here or whatever. All right, last one.
Let's go to Miserable Trojan. He says, Bear has always been a drama queen. Wasn't getting playing time because he wasn't the best D lineman on the roster. Good riddance. Adios, buddy. Good luck.
Well, if that's the reason, if that is fully the reason, then maybe it is addition by subtraction for USC. Man, I think you're better off. If somebody wants to quit, get your ass out of here. We used to tell guys back in the day, well, if you don't like it, here's what we'll do. We'll call your mama. We'll tell her you don't have a scholarship here anymore. We'll get your stuff, and we'll put it out in front of the field house, and she can come pick you up.
But here's a real question. If that's what they do, right, like if your scholarship is no longer guaranteed at USC, and you can't enter the transfer portal right now because it's not open in the middle of the season, how can you be academically eligible to transfer? You can't even finish your academics.
Well, I don't think it's something where you could pull, the scholarship money right away. It would probably be going into that next semester or something if, let's say, you didn't wind up anywhere in the transfer portal and you wanted to come back. I mean, my thing would be like, all right, well, your scholarship that you signed goes through this point. Okay, you can officially enter the transfer portal at this point. Please do not take up time in our study hall. Do not ask us for resources, anything. You are on your own now. You are technically still on scholarship. You will count against scholarship. You're not going to have to pay for your school for the rest of the semester. But by the time this semester ends, and while this semester is going on, please do not ask us. You are not allowed back in the football facility. You cannot use our weight room. You cannot do this. You cannot do that. I mean, that's not petty. You quit on me. I quit on you.
Well, this is the game you play when you get guys out of the transfer portal. This is the transfer portal is basically mercenaries for hire.
Yeah, that's what we've been saying.
It's guys whose loyalty can be bought.
But to Jake's point, they're still in contention. They
Yeah.
lost one close game. It's not like the teams lose. I will say I just did some quick math. 134 college football teams times 125 guys on the roster. That's 16,750 college football players who will take the field this weekend. So shout out to those 16,000 who want to suit up and play with their brothers.
For sure. All right, let's move on. Speaking about sitting out, I think there's some Cowboy fans that want to sit out the rest of the season after watching this performance.
Cowboys at the Giants tonight, -5 Dallas right now, 44.5 on the over-under. How you feeling?
Well, we're in such a weird space, but before this week, the Cowboy fans were down, and so were the Giants fans. But the Giants able to beat the Browns last week on the road, getting a little confident. The Cowboys lose at home to Lamar Jackson and the Ravens. Somehow, surprisingly, Derrick Henry was able to run well, and Lamar was able to run well. I mean, who do you trust more right now? I mean, I still think these are two football teams that one is very talented, and the Cowboys, I don't think you can deny they're talented. They're just not playing well together, and I think they're playing hero ball, especially on the defensive side. Guys are out of position all the time, including Micah Parsons. But if you're Daniel Jones in New York, what a way to be able to truly turn the season around after a lot of people had already given up early, than to beat the Dallas Cowboys at home on a Thursday night. I know the Cowboys are favored in this one, but I kind of feel like the Giants are playing with a little bit of house money here. I don't know how many people still believe. There's not a lot of people that are back on the Daniel Jones train. You look at all the stars, pun intended, that Dallas has. Dak Prescott, CeeDee Lamb, right? You go down the list, look on defense, Micah Parsons, all this. I'm telling you, fellas, I know we're going to get to our bets at the end. I'm liking the Giants tonight.
You're liking the Giants?
I like the Giants tonight.
Really?
Bro, the Cowboys,
outright?
Outright. Money line. They're like 5-point underdogs. It's not anything crazy. Look, could the Giants go out there and implode and Daniel Jones look like, Drew Barrymore from 50 First Dates and forget again? Yeah, it's possible. But I actually think Daniel Jones running in this game is going to be the difference. I like the Giants.
Well, that'd be plus 200. How are you feeling? The Cowboys didn't they open with the Giants as the season opener a year ago? And they beat them like 40-0 or something.
Yeah.
Is that going to be what this is? Or
look,
you gonna go with? The Giants?
Can't get in the betting business betting on Daniel Jones. I just can't.
We gonna bet on Dak?
Yeah.
Okay.
Regular season.
Yeah, regular season.
Well, shit. Have you watched the regular season?
This is a little bit of a different team too. They're facing this week. Ravens, ground and pound. Fullbacks, 240 pounds, one of the best blocking fullbacks.
What about the Saints that scored 50 points?
Still
Throwing all
a team
over
that's
them.
Alvin. Yeah, I'm just saying, like the Giants right now, they're good at running. They're not great at running. And I think the most of the factor the Giants do is let's play a little game of how many times can we throw it to Malik Neighbors.
Which is a great game to play.
It's a great game to play. But right now, Daniel Jones, on any day other than Sunday when he plays football, is 0-12.
See, the people said, Josh Allen can't beat the Dolphins. Or whatever it was, or whoever it was the other day, or the Jags. He plays bad against the Jags. They beat the Jags to death. What has gone on Thursday? It's like, Kirk Cousins can't do this on a certain day, and then he does it. Like, I don't do the day thing. I just feel like that's a coincidence. I don't think that he's like, how does that work, David? Do you just wake up on Thursday morning like, oh my God?
It's about the moon and the gravity.
Like, how does that work? Like, honestly though, how are you bad on Thursday and just better on Sunday?
Have you watched Daniel Jones'
I don't,
career?
but no, like how does honestly,
he's the king of inconsistency.
Here's the only thing I want to know: do you have a first touchdown score for us, or are you safe?
That's
the only thing I want to know from you. Do you have a first touchdown?
I always have a first touchdown score.
Are you revealing that now or at the end?
We're going to reveal that later.
Okay.
I do want to throw this out here. Speaking of Prize Picks, I was looking at this earlier. Right now, they got Dak Prescott over or under, more or less, 259.5 passing yards. I think CeeDee Lamb was more or less 85 passing yards, something like that. And then Dak Prescott, more or less touchdown passes, 1.5. So there's some interesting.
I like that.
Daily fantasy.
That's all on Prize Picks right now.
Picks. Yeah, use that code.
Yep. Look, in another, if we're throwing out bets out, look, CeeDee Lamb's had a problem last week not getting the ball. I promise you 2 really solid bets today are over 6.5 receptions for CeeDee Lamb and over 6.5 receptions from elite neighbors. And I think you can play their yards up 100 plus too.
I like that 6.5 receptions. All right, last one here for rapid fire. Dave Portnoy says he will gladly pay whatever amount of money for Michigan's quarterbacks moving forward, $1 million, $2 million. He said up to $3 million
up to
a
$3
year
million. So
from the transfer portal or from high school recruiting. Obviously, we're going to have a great conversation with Steve Dace for tomorrow, who has a lot of thoughts on this situation. But just after hearing him say that today, what are your thoughts?
What a great ability to be able to say that.
I have an extra year eligible.
I would love to be able to be like, you know what? God, I'm so pissed about Peyton Thorne and the Auburn quarterback situation. All right. Up to $3 million, we'll fix it.
Since
why not? If I could affect Auburn getting great players, like I would do as much as I possibly could. Now, I need some better play good, and I better be able to sit where I want, and I want to eat at the acre for free. But outside of that, I wish I could do that for Auburn. I would love to do that for Auburn.
You know what?
If you hit that subscribe button, possibly we can.
I'm just thinking about this. Since there seems to be a little bit of contention and a question on whether or not I would try harder, whether not getting paid anything or getting paid a lot, let's try it out. I have 1 year of eligibility.
Yeah. Okay.
Let's go 3.5, or let's go $3 million flat.
$3 million flat.
$3 million flat, year of extra eligibility, and let's see if I throw just as many interceptions.
Look, you give me $50,000, I'll do whatever you want.
I believe it.
You remember how earlier when Blaine said loyalty could be bought? Blaine could just be bought.
Yeah.
Look,
I'm not playing D tackle at USC.
Yeah.
Okay? Like, I'm not. Like, I can be bought for sure. But this does get into the weird thing, and we talked about this earlier, when a booster wants to pay a guy, but, I mean, the coach don't want to play him. Like, don't want him. What happens there?
Well, it depends on what was in the contract.
Hey, talking about Dallas Cowboys, you see it every year with them. Coach may not want a guy, but who's Jerry going to draft?
Yeah.
Whoever he wants.
That's exactly right.
That's the same.
Regardless of how bad Dak Prescott plays, they're still going to play him. I don't mind this. Is this a reaction to Ohio State dropping $20 million on a roster?
Has to be.
Right.
Well, and probably with what you're seeing with the UNLV stuff. Is like, if we're just paying guys, because it's what we've all realized now, what we've known, but we're now realizing even more, is that the collective is not affiliated with the team. Right?
Yeah.
Does it have to be? I mean, or technically can't be. Now, I'm not saying, the coaches are telling the guys who they want and who they're highly recruited, but it's technically not. So Dave Portnoy could go recruit whoever he wants to play football at Michigan.
Yeah, I mean, look, he's trying to be a responsible man, responsible Michigan man, and helped him get a quarterback. And look, I bet that thing went up to $3 million after he saw Davis Warren and Orgy throw it a couple times. But let's talk about responsibility. Men, something that separates the men from the boys. All right, we're not just talking about on the football field. We're talking about your health. All right, let's be honest for a second. Just look at me. Let's take our hats off. All right, and let's be honest. You're not getting all the vitamins you need. All right,
and I'm pissed about it.
A lot of y'all, yeah, Blaine's furious about it, but we're not even going to talk about that right now. You probably don't eat breakfast. Maybe you do. All right, lunch, who knows? It's a who's who. But if you want a whey, all right, if you want a multivitamin that is packed with 33 key ingredients that support your immune system, sharpen your brain, and keep your heart and muscles strong, you need to check out what they've got going on over at Responsible Man. And it's a minty vitamin. It's not one of those ones that smell like it was, smuggled in from somewhere right next to the equator. It's got a nice smell to it, and your wife doesn't have to worry about you getting all the vitamins. You don't. You just take it, get on that routine. We take it. I'm telling you, it helps with everything. All right. And right now you can take advantage of Responsible Man's fall sale and get 30% off your order plus an additional $9 off your first order. Just go to responsibleman.com and use code BOOSTER at checkout. But this deal won't last long. Remember, gentlemen, strong America needs strong men, and we're flexing on them out here. That's responsibleman.com with code BOOSTER for 30% off plus 9% off your first order. Be the man your team needs you to be. David, you're a father of 3. You better be taking them.
Oh, yeah. Just took mine.
Good. I'm proud of you.
Every day.
Proud of you. All right, let's get to the chat before we get to the rest of these previews.
I'm glad you're not proud of me.
I
appreciate it, dude. Just because I don't have kids.
Hey, I'm proud
I see
of
how
you.
it is. All right, let's go to Ricky P. Ricky, what's up? He says, fellas, what's your thoughts on having a cap when it comes to NIL?
It's tough.
Well, hey, it's my thoughts on this. If you're going to have a cap, I don't want any flexible cap. I don't want a soft cap. If you're going to make a cap, hard cap. This is the most you can do. And it's, if you're going to do it, if we have to do it, then do it that way. Now, I'm not super in love with it, all right? I wouldn't choose to do it, but if it's something that made the most sense and was good, hard cap, not above it, no softness, no deferring, the show, hey, we're going to defer it to 20 years down the road when you move back to Japan or whatever.
You can't do it without collective bargaining. The players would have to form a union. That's the only way it works in the NFL is for them to be able to vote on where the cap is or to hold out. So, or else you're just going to have more anti.
Well, is that where we're going anyway, though? Like, would you sacrifice having to have the collective bargaining for structure and organization?
Mm-hmm.
Like,
yeah.
You see what I'm saying? Like, is that worth the, damn it, we don't want to have to do this, but if it's going to make everything else better, we need to have it. And like, it's a necessary evil, I guess, is the best. And not calling it evil, but a necessary thing to do that we really don't want to do.
I think that's where we're headed.
Yep.
Let's go to Shadow Bearded. He says, NIL is not from the schools. You can't cap it. Once there's revenue sharing, that is something you can cap.
Yeah, that's what we're talking about here. It's the way that it's dispersed, right?
Again, that's a really good point because, we're talking about the pay for play, I guess, could be if they had collective bargaining. But then what does that mean for an individual's player ability to go out and do real NIL, right, and get endorsements, which we see professional athletes? Yeah, you might be able to cap Dak Prescott's earnings with the collective bargaining, but then he can go be in a Nike commercial, Gatorade commercial. Yeah, exactly. So, yes, Shedeur Sanders and Arch Manning still make all the money off their endorsements. I don't know. It's a mess. It's a Marty Huggins.
It's a Marty. You better bring your brooms.
Bring that broom.
Let's go to Daniel Jones's brother. I really hope not. He says, Blaine, right now, if you were to take the Dallas straight up, I'm betting you $100 that the Giants will win money line.
Ooh.
Buddy, you want to be out of $100 that quick? That's fine. I'll take that bet if you want to.
That's
but don't run away either.
Hit the cha-ching button.
Don't run away either.
Yeah,
all right.
Daniel Jones' brother. We know where to find you. All right, it's done.
All right, let's go to Gavin Biffle. What's up, Gavin? Says, hey, guys, loving the show, and I know I already miss it, but I think the Georgia game will be decided where the UGA can hold on the ball and determine drives. I'm not trusting Georgia's offense, especially with a 10-play-plus drive.
You may have missed it earlier, but you absolutely almost paraphrased what we were talking about in the beginning, at least. Me there, Gavin Biffle. That's a great name. That sounds like a superhero sidekick. All right, let's get us a preview of some other games, D.
One game for tomorrow night we hadn't talked about is Rutgers hosting Washington. Rutgers 3-0 had a nice win over Virginia Tech. Washington 3-1. Their only loss was in the Apple Cup.
Yeah, and look, Jed Fish, took the Washington job. I'm very interested to see how, it goes with him over there. He's done nothing but do really well where he's gone. I really like the fit. Man, I just like this Rutgers team, man.
I do too.
I like the way they're built. Manungai, right? Kali McManus, some other names I probably can't pronounce great. This Rutgers team is who you think they are, but they can throw it a little bit better. What they did off the bluff screen action against Virginia Tech, you're probably going to see more of that. But defense and running the ball is what Rutgers does. It's like crab cakes in football in Maryland. It's the Greg Schiano special. I like Rutgers in this game. I like him to cover. I think the spread was at 2.5, somewhere around
-2 right now.
-2 right now. I like Rutgers in this game. It's probably going to be low scoring. Don't confuse this Washington team with what they were last year with Michael Penix and the get-along gang he had around him with Adunze and Polk and McMillan and all those guys in that offensive line. This is not an overly talented offensive team, even though I like Will Rogers. I've met him a couple times. I like Rutgers to go 4-0 in this game, or to get to 4-0 after winning this game. And I tell you, man, this team, Manungai is the best player in college football that you probably haven't heard about. But to me, I think he's going to be better than Pacheco in the league. And where did Pacheco go? Rutgers, I believe. So it's
I like Rutgers too. I like them better when they're underdogs. Now they're starting to be favored a little bit.
Yeah, look, before the season started, I have Rutgers winning 9 games. It's tough for me to pick against a team who plays well on defense and runs the football extremely well. And if you go back to last week's game against Virginia Tech, I mean, they were kicking their ass for 3.5 quarters, basically. I think Virginia Tech scored 16 points in the fourth. So right now, Rutgers a team to watch out for.
All right, Ole Miss undefeated 4-0, hosting Kentucky. We saw Kentucky keep it close against Georgia, but that was in Lexington. Any chance Kentucky can figure out a way to go to Ole Miss and win, Jake?
Well, there's two ways. Either you know the bus driver or the guy who makes Ole Miss's breakfast. Outside of that, no, I don't think so. And not that there's no world in which this Kentucky game could be close. They played Georgia close. I think they really, really got up to play Georgia. And I know they only scored 12 points. But if you go back and watch Kentucky before this, it hadn't exactly been Cirque du Soleil on offense. I mean, that game against South Carolina set, the state of Kentucky back about 20 years offensively. I just, even if they play well and they're able to slow down Ole Miss somewhat, I think the dam breaks. And the difference in this Ole Miss team, just like I think the difference in this Texas team the past couple years, they're different on the front seven now. I know Ole Miss's schedule hasn't been great. I get that. I understand that. But I can still, when I turn on the YouTube TV multi-view, sound like Dabo Swinney right now, and I watch Ole Miss run around, I watch them get off the ball on the line of scrimmage, and I watch the depth that they have defensively. I think 16, if you can buy it down to 16.5 right now, which I think you can, it may be still at 17.5. I saw it today. I think Ole Miss rolls them. I think they roll them. We brought up Jackson Darts on the revenge tour after him and his girlfriend broke up. I think Lane wants Jackson to win the Heisman. He's out here talking trash in press conferences. He's not going to take his foot off the gas. And this Ole Miss defense, I think, can keep Kentucky below 13 points. And if that happens, they can get to 30. I like Ole Miss in the cover here.
So, Blaine, forget buying the spread down. How much would you buy it up on the alternate line and still feel comfortable?
20.5.
20.5.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'd buy it.
What can you get that at right now?
Has to be plus
It's at
money.
17.5 right now. Money's laying Ole Miss minus 115, 20.5.
Plus 150, you think?
Plus 150, or maybe entering the twos.
Yeah.
Maybe a plus 175.
So 20.5?
I'm going to run it out way.
Yeah, look, I'm not Albert Einstein. It's probably.
You're close, though, bud.
Yeah,
You're close.
But on the Kentucky standpoint here, do I think Ole Miss is going to win this game, and do I think they're going to roll? Yes, I do. But if you
plus
are
115.
115,
You could buy it up to plus 115 at
20.5.
Ole Miss minus 20.5 plus 115.
wow.
Okay. That's not extremely surprising to me. But if you're Kentucky, the first thing I would do, especially on defense, is try to make Ole Miss one-dimensional. We talked about Josh Heupel and Lane
Good
Kiffin.
luck.
I know. Lane Kiffin and all these guys, they want to do what? They want to run the football. And I know both the dimensions when it comes to Ole Miss, they can throw it really well too. But I would at least want to take one thing away from them and beat them that way. If you go look at Kentucky last week against Ohio, and I know it's Ohio, but that's the best offense that their offense has looked all year, especially from the running the ball standpoint. So if you're Kentucky, you have to establish a line of scrimmage on offense to be able to run the ball and stop the run against Ole Miss, and you just want to be at least one possession walking into the fourth quarter.
And that'd be a huge win if they could win for them to do that. One possession going in the fourth quarter, give yourself a chance on the road. One more thing to think about here. Kentucky, when you look at Ole Miss's schedule, they've been hearing what everybody else is saying. Like, oh, well, you really haven't played anybody. You really haven't played anybody. Not that Kentucky is this great team, but I think this is their first opportunity against a brand name that people at least respect to go out there and put a really good product on the field and dominate. So, therefore, we can really start having that conversation about, all right, this Ole Miss team, when we look at the tier one of the SEC and really college football, where you got Texas, where you got Georgia, where you got Bama, where I think now you have to have Tennessee, and Missouri's hanging around, right? They're hanging outside the bar smoking a cigarette, like waiting to walk in. Can Ole Miss, start to really solidify themselves? And it won't be fully solidified this week, and I'm not saying that. But when we turn on the TV, we go, wow, what a dominant performance from what looks like a dominant team.
That next step.
That next step.
All right, let's squeeze in one more preview. USC is going to host Wisconsin. Obviously, USC had their Big Ten inauguration a week ago. Michigan was playing bully ball. Now you're going to play Wisconsin, and Wisconsin hasn't played since that beatdown against Alabama, so they had a bye week heading into this game.
This matchup to me, and I know USC, you're not healthier when you play the next week after you just played Michigan. That was not just a physical, game against them, mentally taxing too. A lot of preparation obviously goes into it. It's a big moment going into the Big Ten. How are you able to bounce back? You're back at home against a team that is inferior to you overall athletically. maybe some of those huge plays that we didn't see against Michigan, I think you're going to see in this game against Wisconsin. I like Miller Moss to bounce back. I hate the number at 15.5 when I saw it. I absolutely hate that number. I would almost rather buy it up to 16.5 and play it than sit there at 15.5, as crazy as that sounds. I think Wisconsin's going to be able to score a couple touchdowns here, but I like USC pretty big in this one. Give me 38-17 USC.
And this game is at Wisconsin?
No,
USC.
It's at USC. No, that doesn't help. You got to remember Wisconsin's coming in this game with their backup quarterback. The lock kid, Van Dyke. I'm pretty sure he's out for the season. If you go back to that Wisconsin-Alabama game, and Wisconsin did have a bye between this Alabama game and this USC game, Wisconsin was able to run the ball pretty successfully against Alabama. And that's one thing. I know the air raid, y'all's thing now, your starting quarterback went out, but you're going to have to establish a line of scrimmage in this game against USC, especially coming off an absolutely physical, brutal match against Michigan, and not put too much on the plate of your young quarterback. Now, right now, I don't like the number either. I do like USC in this football game. I think this is a bounce-back week for them. I don't think Bear Alexander will be missed at all when it comes to this D-line. I don't think he was playing great anyways. So I like USC. If I was going to lay points here, I'd buy this game down to 13.5 and lay at USC.
It's kind of weird to get a read on USC based on the Michigan game because it was so Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. It was such a tale of two halves with Michigan. But I was impressed with USC's ability to go into halftime and make adjustments, right? And I still don't think that they are soft on defense. I think they missed some tackles, but look, when Michigan and Khalil Mullins and Alex Orji are running downhill at you, like a lot of people miss tackles. You know?
Yeah.
So I still think USC is going to be just fine. But that's it for previews. Nice job, guys.
Yeah, let's get to the phone lines here in 1 second. Let's roll through these. Probably 30 to 45 seconds. Want to make sure we get to everybody. I do want to tell everybody out there, though, look, if you're going to the game, you're having a couple drinks, you're staying at home, you're grilling out, or you're just chilling at the crib, having a couple drinks in general, before you drink, you need to learn about Z-Biotics. What is it? Well, it's a pre-alcohol probiotic drink. You drink it before you go drink, and then you don't feel as bad the next day. It's pure magic. Like, we use it. I'm telling you guys right now, it works. We have a lot of people that watch the show that have used it. We get messages all the time about it. I mean, when I went to Starkville, a guy literally stopped me and had just got done drinking one and said he heard about it on the show. And again, drink responsibly, be smart, but I'm telling you, you'd be smart to get this. It's invented by PhD scientists to tackle rough mornings after drinking. You kind of get where I'm going. Again, we use it all the time. It does taste fine. It's not some terrible taste that you're going to hate. And we want to hear your story about your experience with this product as well, because y'all keep sending them in, and it's fantastic. David, you used it. Blaine, you've used it. So you keep hearing about pre-alcohol and wondered what it was. Now you know, and you need to try it. That's why everybody is heading over to zbiotics.com/booster. Use the code BOOSTER at checkout for 15% off. That's zbiotics.com/booster. Use that code at checkout. You get 15% off. They have a money-back guarantee of 100%. I'm telling you, you're going to be satisfied, but they cover their bases there. So head to zbiotics.com/booster and use the code BOOSTER at checkout for 15% off. All right, David, let's get to the phone lines here.
All right, let's go to Jake in Oklahoma. Jake, what's going on?
How are y'all doing?
What's up?
All right, keeping it quick here. The Oklahoma State-Utah game, I mean, it was awful all around, but what I really had a problem with was our offensive play calling, which, Casey done figured it out once we were down by 19 points, but I just wanted to ask how you fix something like play calling.
Well, again, I mean, if you look at Casey, through over time, he's proven he can be a really good play caller. What I think you're seeing now is a team that, we all know who Ollie Gordon was, and that the run game was what Oklahoma State was known for, and you didn't want to have to rely on the pass game to go win you games. But earlier in the year, right, you weren't running the ball well, so, teams were loading the box, and Ollie wasn't making plays even when they were loading the box, and then they'd get you in third and passing, and you would have to pass them out of it. You were still averaging 40 points a game. The problem that you ran into was this defense didn't have to load the box to stop the run. We talked about it all week on this show. I was like, why do I like Utah in this game, regardless of Cam Rising? It's because Utah does not have to funnel resources into the box to stop the run. They can play you even in the box. That means you're even and taken care of in the back end, at least from a numbers standpoint, which you can control everything when you don't have to funnel resources to other places, whether that be to stop the run or take guys out of the box to try and stop the pass. Eventually, it was going to catch up to Oklahoma State, and I think what Casey did was say, you know what? We have got to find a way to be balanced. We have got to find a way to mix it up. But damn it, we have got to go back to what makes us us. And it was just too late at the end of the day.
Yep.
I mean, he threw it 44 times against Utah. You threw it 44
He threw it 500 times a year ago. That's why I was saying, like, they throw it so much.
Well, if you think about it, though, like, it would make sense after what you were doing to people with Ollie Gordon. Like, you still got to run it. I'm not saying just because you go heavier personnel and it's a thick box, or maybe they're adding guys to the box. That doesn't mean you never run it. But you've got to show the ability to throw people out of it. And you've got to look at the numbers and say, if y'all going to give us this, and it's not like they got bad players at receiver. You look at Owens and Stribling and the guys that they have. Bowman, to me, is the deficient one consistency-wise. But they were still able to score points and find ways. But you ran into a buzzsaw. That's what you ran into. And they could play you even. And they said, all right, well, we're down now. So we got to throw it.
You're walking into halftime 10-3.
And
it's
you
not
knew
like you were
Utah
crazy.
wasn't going to score 40.
Yeah, but like sooner or later, like you have to let your guy go get it. You have to let the guy that was in the Heisman finalists last year go get it, whether they stacked the box or not. Utah ran it 51 times. 51 times. Why am I begging Oklahoma State to run the ball?
Well, again, in the first half of the game, I'm with you. I agree with you. But when I'm down 20 points, I can't sit here and say we're going to run power and come all the way back in this game. Not when Utah's running it and they're chewing up the clock and chewing up the clock and chewing up the clock. It's just, it's a tough spot to be in.
You weren't down 2 possessions until almost halfway through the fourth.
Well, they better shake that loss off, because now you're going to Kansas State, and if you want to stay alive in the Big 12, you got to win this week.
I agree 100%.
Appreciate it, Jake.
Great call, man.
Great call.
All right, let's go to another Jake. It's a Jake convention today, but this Jake is in Florida. Talk to us, man.
Everywhere.
Hey, fellas, how we doing?
What's up, man?
What's up, dude?
So obviously, huge game this weekend. Got Georgia coming to T-Town.
Yep.
I just want to touch on a talking point that nobody has brought up yet, at least to my knowledge. Let's talk about the real scenario. Let's say Georgia loses this game this weekend, right? For the exact reasons you guys laid out earlier, the lack of explosivity. They still have to play Texas, Ole Miss, and Tennessee. How real, let's say they lose for those reasons, how real is the scenario that they lose 3 games this year? And are they likely to make the playoffs if that happens?
Jake, it's funny you bring that up. We had a caller that called in and was like, hey, I got a crazy take. I think Georgia's going 9-3. This was like last week. Like, I would not be shocked. And I don't think, look, would I be surprised if Georgia ended up going 9-3? Yes, I would be surprised. I wouldn't just be like, oh my gosh, I wouldn't be as surprised about them going 9-3 as I would about BYU going 9-3. Let's put it that way. But when talking about before the season, but we're going to find out so much more information this weekend about Georgia and Alabama. And if Georgia goes out there and they lack explosive plays and they lose the game, I don't know how you would sit here and say, oh, well, that's just Alabama. That was going to happen because it's Alabama, when we've watched what Texas can do, when we think we know what Ole Miss can do. I don't think it's a possibility that's crazy. And if they go 9-3, I don't think they make the playoff. I don't think a 9-3 team makes the playoff out of the SEC.
And you got to remember the Alabama game on the road, Texas game
on the road,
Ole Miss game
on the road.
And then still Tennessee at home.
And it's not the same Tennessee and Ole Miss as we're used to seeing now. Like,
no, this isn't the fat.
These aren't. This isn't how many points can we put on the scoreboard and just rely on my defense. Like, these two, Tennessee right now probably has the best defense in the nation. I mean, and I can say that with a straight face.
Mm-hmm. Jake, before you go, give us your prediction.
So my prediction, the number that's going to haunt Georgia fans, 24. The only win Georgia has against Alabama, they scored 33 points. Every time Alabama has beaten Georgia, they've scored 24 or less. Mm-hmm. So I've got Alabama winning 31-24. That's my prediction.
All right, Jake, we'll see it. We'll see it.
Appreciate it, brother.
Buddy.
Hey, call in next week.
Stay safe down there, too, with that storm coming, man.
Yeah, call in next week.
Yep.
All right, let's go to Gary in Utah. Gary, what's on your mind?
Hey, what's going on, boys?
What's up, Gary?
I'm happy with where Utah is, so we're not going to talk about, we're not going to talk about them today. Happy with where we're trending. But I was mulling over just one thing about LSU. And so, I wanted to know because, like, the way Sloan is calling the offense, like, it's pretty evident, like, we need a mobile quarterback in there. And so I wanted to ask, do you guys think, for Nuss's sake, and don't get me wrong, I love Nuss. I'm glad we have him. I hope he stays, until he wants to go. But I also don't want to waste him like we did with Jaden. Do you think Nuss is in a right fit at LSU with Sloan calling the offense? Because it seems like we keep just tying his hands behind his back and be like, no, you ain't throwing no deep balls. And so I just want to know, like, hey, like, would Nuss be better off at a USC, a Utah, a Georgia, Ohio State, those type of systems versus Sloan and whatever he's doing?
Well, first off, Gary, I think you bring up a fascinating point. I've actually, kind of thought about this watching LSU. I think Nussmeier's good enough to be good in a lot of systems. I don't think he can be elite in this system that LSU has because I don't think it plays really to his strengths and the way he is able to stretch the ball down the field or at least give defenses the threat of throwing it over you at any point in time, which does what? It not only opens up the run game, but it opens up the pass game underneath when people are having to play too high. I know Mel Kiper and all these guys think it's ruined in the game, but I think Garrett Nussmeier in a more pro-style offense that was more, I guess the word is, deep ball oriented, or I think him in like a Kodal Nicky offense that like Drew Aller's in at Penn State right now would fit him a lot better. Having said that, I do think he runs decent enough to be a threat enough with his legs for the RPO game to work. But I feel like he's one of those guys that is I don't need to be making, the judgment on 3 different levels in the RPO game. Give me combinations on the outside. Give me 2 plays at the line of scrimmage. Let me work from the pocket. And if I have to create outside of throwing the check down or doing something like that, I can. I'm athletic enough. But I don't think he's in the best system that fits him overall. Let's put it that way.
Change the system.
I would agree with that.
Right?
I would agree with that.
Yeah, like at least change it, tailor it a little bit to your personnel.
Well, it's reverse Jalen Milroe.
Right.
Is what it is. It's reverse Jalen Milroe early last year at Bama is exactly what it is.
The least amount of points y'all scored this year, what was it, 20 against USC? Y'all had 2 red zone trips that you fell flat on. Other than that, you're racking 30 points every game. To me, like, it can't be hard to be the OC at LSU.
Yeah.
It can't be that hard of a job.
And the greatest season they've had in the history of their program,
That's
Joe
what I'm
Burrow
saying.
was the quarterback.
Yeah.
He wasn't doing
It can't, like, you have
Well, and it's not even
running around every.
And you don't, and it's not that you would even have to overhaul the whole thing. Like, you can't do that. What you have to do is tailor it, the best parts of it, just like when we asked Kalen DeBoer at the Senior Bowl. How is Jalen Milroe going to fit in your system? He said, no, it's how can I fit my system to Jalen Milroe?
That's what every coach should be
doing. That's what every coach should be doing. And hopefully you get far enough along in your program, you're bringing in guys that fit that exact system. But you're trying to run an offense that Jaden Daniels ran, who did it a totally different way, right? That was, in the RPO game, a nightmare. Like, that's his bag. He's still doing it in the league. Nussmeier is more of a, hey, let's pro-style this thing. And because that's what he learned. Think about who his father is. Like, he comes from a pro-style type system. So, not that he's not athletic, but I agree with you, Gary.
Appreciate it,
Great
Gary.
call, Gary.
Thank you, man. All right, let's go to Chris in Indianapolis. Chris, what's going on?
Hey, what's going on, guys? Today, I want to talk about Riley Leonard and Notre Dame versus Louisville. The last, I think, 3 games, Riley Leonard has dominated the ground on the run game side, but he only has 1 passing touchdown through 4 games, and I think if Notre Dame loses this week to Louisville, I think, in my personal opinion, that we should bench him for Steve Angeli.
God, who thought we'd be at this
Yeah.
point?
Wow.
But again, like,
Marcus Freeman just skates under all this.
He's not wrong in how ugly it's looked. I mean, Notre Dame, go back to the Texas, they cannot throw the ball. And I'm going to go and give you a hint. This group rolling in here from Louisville isn't exactly who you want to see when you're trying to find yourself offensively, right? This isn't like, couples retreat where you're going off to some island oasis with some monk that's going to help your marriage. That ain't what's rolling into town. So if you're Notre Dame, that's why I love the under in this game. I love it because I think Notre Dame is elite on defense.
I just don't understand. Like, he's never been a great thrower of the football, But he could sling it around a little bit at Duke to where the point that it's respectable.
I'm surprised, too.
Yeah, you just don't. It's like riding a bike. You just don't forget what has changed.
I go to that interception against Northern Illinois, the last play for them on offense before Northern Illinois came down and hit that field goal. One, why are we throwing the ball deep in that scenario, right? In a tight ball game like that, I think they panicked a little bit. But then also, after the game, Riley Leonard said, I just made the wrong read. Well, it's double post against a single high safety, and the interior post collected the safety. You didn't make the wrong read. You underthrew the guy.
Yeah.
So if we're not even understanding if we're making the wrong reads or just making bad throws,
that's coaching.
That's
well,
coaching.
This is the question.
Too.
This is a question. Because Mike Denbrock's a damn good offensive mind. The OC, speaking of LSU. Is it a Riley Leonard problem or is it a Notre Dame problem? That's the question. Or more of,
and with that being said, their defense is still so good, and Riley runs it so well, like averaging, how many yards is he averaging per game? Over 100, I think, at this point.
It's at this point.
That they could still beat Louisville this week and be in college football playoff contention.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what's really crazy.
True.
Appreciate it, Chris.
Thanks, Chris.
Thank you, Chris.
Thanks, man. All right, let's go to Caveman 2.0 in Mississippi. What's up, Caveman?
What's up, boys?
Nothing. Just thinking about Geico.
So, a few things, all pertaining to Ole Miss. First of all, this NIL foolishness with players trying to leverage more money isn't new to us. We had a former running back, operative word being former. He tried to hold out before the Georgia Tech game.
Is he in Columbus, Ohio, right about now?
Other games as well. He is in that state, so I'm good with it. Also, second thing, Jackson Dart could walk into any sorority house and get any girl he wanted. I'm not surprised that this is happening. And Rebs by 50 this next game.
Well, that was the whole point of the video we played, was that your girlfriend broke up with you. Now you're going to go ball. And we were laughing at the way the TikTok video is made. And there's some people that actually thought we were condoning cheating on your girlfriend or whatever. First off, we don't know the whole story and how that went down. And second off, you got to be able to joke around a little bit, people. Let's not be overly sensitive. We're just, trying to have some fun.
Caveman, on the Quinshawn, the running back who's in.
Yeah.
What exactly happened again? Because I was hearing some of these reports too. So he was trying to leverage the program for more money in the middle of the season last year and before the New Year's Six bowl game?
That's correct. He thought his number was higher than what it was. And of course, we weren't willing to pay that. So, bada bing, bada boom, he ends up at a different school.
Contracts.
You need
contracts.
Contracts.
Like you're going.
Put it on paper. How does anything ever get done? Got to
And look, David's right. We're going to get to the point where they're going to try to find a way out of that contract.
But hey, let's get to that point.
We got to that's the Hugh Freeze problem. Go get a quarterback. If he doesn't turn out, well, hell, we'll figure something else out.
We'll figure it out.
Caveman.
Thanks, Caveman.
Appreciate it. All right, let's go to Michael in Texas. Michael, what's up?
Happy Thursday, fellas. How are you doing?
Doing good, man. Doing good. How you doing?
I'm doing great. And one of the reasons why is the Buffalo Bills and Josh Allen are 3-0, and
he's not turning it over.
Exactly, and I was going to tell you some stats here. At this point, last season, he is accounted for 6 total touchdowns, but had turned over a total of 5 times. This year, 9 total touchdowns, only 1 turnover, 1 lost fumble. He has not thrown a pick yet.
Can I ask you a question? What do you think the difference is from last year and this year?
It's our offensive coordinator,
Joe Brady.
I think that answer is easy because Ken Dorsey was not doing it. Joe Brady, who coached Joe Burrow at LSU, he knows how to coach quarterbacks, and he is definitely made Josh Allen a lot better.
And he's running the ball. Ken Dorsey would run the ball like one play. Like we even had a caller call in and be like, dude, we'd run the ball, get like 6 yards, and then Ken Dorsey would be like, all right, that's enough for the running game. Let's make Josh Allen make all the decisions.
And there's not a guy walking around on that sidelines that Josh Allen feels pressured to throw the football.
That's also true.
He kind of feels a little bit more free in making reads, right? That I don't have to force a football to a guy so he won't go on the sidelines and start crying.
Yeah, it's a good point.
Right. So I guess question for you guys is, having said all that, is this sustainable for Josh Allen and the Bills? And is it going to be enough to finally get over the hump of the Kansas City Chiefs and make a very deep run this year?
Well, I think it is sustainable, A. And B, it gives you your best chance. Not playing the most efficient ball you can. If you're going to give yourself the best chance to beat, the Hogwarts special over there in Kansas City, just play clean and let your stars make plays and be balanced. It's your best shot. Not saying it's going to be enough. I don't think there's some magic answer that's like, now we're going to beat the Chiefs. You just got to go out there and play clean, play to your strengths, and hope that Patrick Mahomes doesn't throw a behind-the-back pass and that Travis Kelce stays out of shape because he's too busy worrying about where Taylor Swift is.
Sooner or later, it's got to happen.
One more thing.
Yeah, sooner or later, it's got to
one more thing, or that the refs don't make a favorable call for them.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
You got to beat the Chiefs and the refs.
Yeah, good luck on that one. Best of luck.
Great call, man.
Thanks, man. Let's go to Cameron in Florida. Cameron, what's up?
Hey, guys.
Cameron,
what's up, Cam?
So, I'm going to a Georgia-Alabama watch party, and I'm going to be the only Georgia fan there.
Good.
How many? Wait, Cameron. How many people?
I think like 10, something like that.
Good. It's either going to be great or awful. I don't think there's any in between here. But they all know you're a Georgia fan, right?
Yeah.
I would wear all my Georgia stuff if it was me. I may dress up like a dog.
Yeah. I don't know if I did.
Yeah. So you're getting to that furry line.
Okay, easy. This isn't Korea.
You're
okay.
I mean, you're dressing up as a dog. I mean, that's how it starts. But look,
you're right, because they don't have grown men barking on leashes at people by the
you
stadium.
dig your boots in. All right, you dig your boots down there, and you don't shake in anybody. You look at everybody in the eye when you walk in that party. All right, Jon Snow did it. You can do it too, dog. You rep your Bulldogs. Don't be afraid of these guys. I'm an Auburn fan.
You should bring your own
I'm not
pizza.
afraid of these guys in public.
You should bring your own pizza and also your own bottle of champagne and a cigar in case you guys win.
And
you got to do it all up. And nobody gets any. You're the only one.
Take the champagne in there and say, hey, can I keep this in your freezer?
Dude, you should totally do that, bro.
Yeah,
please do that, Cameron, please.
Appreciate it, Cam.
Great call,
in next week. Let us know how it goes.
Yeah, let us know.
All right, let's go to Josh in North Carolina. Josh, what's going on?
Is there a way for both teams to lose this game this weekend?
There's some people that are asking that.
And so I actually had a question about the NIL stuff. They already covered it, but I saw Clay Travis. He released a piece, and I think if we're going to keep doing this, I mean, right now it's pay for play. So if we're going to keep doing this, like, honestly, I hate coming to this realization, but like, we're going to need a salary cap and contracts like ASAP, because if we don't, we're just going to see the same situation that we're seeing right now with players just decommitting. And I just hate it, but I think that's where we're going, unfortunately.
Yeah.
I wanted y'all's thoughts on that.
Yeah. Well, Josh, like, this is where I go back to, and we literally said this. I think it was even at the J-Boy show before it was even Crain and Company when we came over here. When they let NIL out of the box and the transfer portal out of the box with no rules or plan, that meant you were literally having to imagine just showing up to a empty lot and being like, all right, I'm just going to start building a house. No blueprint, no plans, and you're having to figure it out as you're going along, and it makes it messy instead of saying, you know what, if we're going to do this and it's going to be, we're going to have to, do the NIL, whatever, let's structure it to where we have a baseline to start that is organized and we can make tiny fixes to it. But that's not what they did. Right. They said, oh my God, we have to it's the wild, wild west. Anybody can do what they want. And now we're to the point where we should have been before any of this started. But we're 3 years into it. Like, that's why I was like, this is just not, there's no way this ends up good, right? Just like the same way I look at a Jackson Pollock painting, I'm like, how does this take talent? Like, are the people who just put paint on themselves and rub on a canvas to get off and sell it for like $300,000? That's not talent. You know what's talent?
Yeah, exactly.
Actually drawing something I can look at and not have to be like, oh, like basically do the plot of Interstellar in my mind to realize it's a penguin that's insecure. I don't know, man.
Appreciate it, Josh.
All right. Yeah,
thanks, man.
y'all.
Thanks,
See ya.
Josh.
See you later, dude.
All right, thanks for calling in today, y'all. We appreciate it.
Yeah, appreciate it, guys. All right, let me get to these bets. Got locks, leans, and dogs tomorrow. See if we can, even do better than what we did last week when we were at plus 10 units. I don't know if we can. That's pretty tough. Shout out to James Madison. But we get to bet college football tonight, and I don't know why, but I'm feeling overs. All right, I woke up this morning, decided to choose violence. Army versus Temple. That'd be a hell of a fight in real life. The over 46.5. That's at minus 108. Temple, not a great football team. They did drop 45 against Utah State. I think Army puts up at least 38 points in this game. I think they're going to have success offensively. I haven't been great on Thursdays. Not going to lie to you guys. Outside of that, been really, really good. So we'll see. And then Giants, Cowboys, over 45. Daniel Jones, 2 rushing touchdowns. Say what? David?
All right. I guess the Mets were scared to play the Braves last night, so that game got postponed.
Dude,
and
that
White Sox,
doubleheader,
huh?
That doubleheader though is worth so much. That is, oh god,
September 30th or something.
Yeah, there you go.
And then White Sox beat the Angels again. Look at that. There's some hope in Chicago. But tonight I'm going football. I'm going Cowboys minus 5.5, minus 118, and then Army minus 12 against Temple minus 110.
All right, I love it. Bring up my bets. Let's go. A little college football action today. I'm rolling with the boys from Army. Army minus 12.5. If I can get that at 12 like David did, I would love that. That'd be great. And give me Army minus 3.5, minus 118. That's for the first half.
Oh,
yeah.
That's for the first half.
Yeah, so the bottom, I don't know. Yeah. The Army minus 3.5, minus 118. That'll be your first half bet. And the 12.5 is the complete money line, or the complete spread for the entire game. If you want to look at a little first touchdown scores tonight for the NFL game, I'm going Jake Ferguson. On the Dallas side, if you like anything from the Giants side's War Eagle, give me Darius Slayton.
I like that. All right, Ace, what do you got tonight? Zeke, first touchdown, plus 800.
I've never wanted to hit a kid.
And then he's going to take the Giants, Cowboys, over 44.5 at minus 116. Remember, I kind of like the Giants tonight. The Gigantes, that's for y'all.
Didn't like him enough to take it on the bet board, huh?
No, I think there's better bets on the board than that. I may take it as a personal.
All right, if you donated today, guys, thank you so much. We really appreciate it over here. We're going to start it off with a $5 donation from Justin A. Appreciate it, Justin. Fellas, didn't know Army has won 7 in a row.
Yeah.
And they have an easy schedule. Thoughts on tonight's game?
Look, Temple's not a very good football team overall. I mean, we know what's happened at Utah State, obviously, and they were able to win that one. I do think Temple will be able to put the ball in the end zone a couple times, hence why I took the over. But I like Army in this one just to keep rolling.
Let's go to a $5 donation from Hunter O'Neill. Appreciate it, Hunter. Long shot parlay, boys. I'm going to ride it with you, Hunter. I like it. All right, Army minus 13.5.
Okay.
Miami minus 20.5.
Okay.
BYU money line.
Okay.
Michigan minus 6.5.
Okay.
Nebraska minus 6.5.
Okay.
Ole Miss minus 16.5.
Okay.
Texas minus 39.5. Clemson minus 13.5. South Alabama, LSU over at 65, and Utah minus 11.5. That's going on.
Let me guess.
Yeah.
Let's guess.
So how much did he put on it? Did he tell you?
No.
But just the odds. God.
Oh, what the number of the odds are?
Plus 12,000.
I'm going to say plus.
Higher, plus 20,000?
I'm going to say plus 75,380.
Plus 108,000.
108.
337. So you put $100 on that, you're making.
You put 100 on that.
And $8,000.
Yeah.
Look, buddy, I'll roll with you. $5 donation from Devin. Thank you, Devin. Hey, fellas, can't wait for the BYU to make Jake a believer. Y'all need to convince me to take my sons to the game. Not sure I want to make that drive.
Talking about to Baylor, to Waco?
Mm-hmm.
Been to Waco before. Really enjoyed it, actually. I'm telling you, this BYU team, and like I said, when we're right, we're going to tell you we're right. When I'm wrong, I'm going to tell you I'm wrong. This BYU team has proved me totally wrong so far this year. And Baylor's not a great team. I'm a little surprised that BYU is a dog at this point, being ranked, going on the road to play Baylor is interesting. I think it was 3.5, 2.5, something like that. But if they don't turn the ball over and they look solid and win this game, I'm all in on BYU. Then actually, this is who y'all are.
All right, let's go to a $10 donation from TJ. Appreciate it, TJ. It says, Carson Beck will look like the best quarterback in this game Saturday. It's going to be his coming out party. Give me the dogs and give me them big.
Nothing would surprise me in this game.
He's good, man.
You know, I mean, when you have this much talent, like, nobody would surprise me if they balled. If Oscar Delp had a coming out party, it wouldn't surprise me if he balled. If ETN did, if Jam did, if somebody we wouldn't even know yet did, it wouldn't surprise me. That's how talented these guys are.
$5 donation from Slingin' Willie. Appreciate it, brother.
Wait a minute. That's a good one.
That's solid right there.
That's solid.
It's his name you don't need to forget when it comes to Saturday. Ryan Williams, the big playmaker. He's going to hit a couple during this game.
The boy who pulled the sword out of the stone so far.
Let's go to a $10 donation from Booster Club Cars. Appreciate it. It says, TJ Freed broke up a perfect game with a bunt hit. Bullpen game for the Indians led off in the 7th in a 2-0 game against the 5th pitcher. Also a lefty-lefty matchup.
Yeah.
Was this a smart play or was it cheap?
I thought it was a smart play. Look at butt's a hit. A hit's a hit.
Break it up any way you can.
That's exactly right. Steve, I don't know what you think about the Reds firing their coach.
Yeah, $10 donation from MJ. Appreciate it, MJ. CNC, as a Giants fan, I'm telling you to bet the Cowboys spread. In fact, I'm buying it up to 9.5 Cowboys.
Wow.
That's money. The Giants always play bad against the Cowboys, and Jones is awful in primetime.
Whoa, Daniel Jones's brother's in the chat.
Yeah, guys.
Well, I don't know what happened to
guys.
Daniel Jones' neck brace.
I'm surprised
Y'all remember him? I thought if there was ever a day that I would have saw a guy in the chat, I thought Daniel Jones' neck brace would be here, but no, it turns out
that feels like an emotional hedge. That's like the double emotional hedge because you bought it up. It's like not only do I think we're going to get beat, I think we're going to get our ass beat.
Let's go to a $5 donation from Carolina Cyclone. Boys, what do y'all think of Iowa State? Beat Iowa, dismantled Arkansas State that held Michigan within 10. Can we find ourselves in the elusive Big 12 title game?
Mm-hmm.
I still think it's a long shot there. Apparently, at some point a fan must have tried to fight Matt Campbell before the season this year, which we told y'all was the move. This Houston game's a little weird, though.
It's minus 14 right now.
It is. Look at the over-under.
It's 43 and a half.
That's low. That's low. I know Houston's been really bad on offense. I think Iowa State wins this game, but I got a feeling it's one of those weird ones at the end. Do I fully believe Iowa State can play in the Big 12 championship? The Big 12's not as good across the board as what a lot of people thought, so I think they got a lot better chance, and they're kind of – Iowa State to me feels like kind of the Louisville of the ACC in the Big 12.
That'd be good.
Right, no, and that's a compliment. Like, they're sneaking around. Like, are they, like, really as balanced and legit as what we think? We're going to get to find out. Maybe not for Iowa State this week against Houston, even though they did beat Iowa. So, I sneaky, and that's what you want. Sneaky's good, unless, we're like sneaking around people's houses and stuff, and you don't need to do that.
Yeah, don't do that. $5 donation from Stan. Appreciate it, Stan. He says, fellas, I know it's off topic, but how about them Vikings? Sam Darnold looks great, and that defense looks like a top 5 defense in the NFL.
Some organizations have it figured out. Man.
Well, it's funny because I'm looking at the Packers and the Vikings, and I'm like y'all both look like just culturally, y'all are there. Is David, do you think watching Sam Darnold, and we know it's past, right? And he's got to prove he can stay healthy. But, is this looking like I know they drafted J.J. McCarthy, but how would you take this guy out right now?
Yeah.
The way he's playing.
No,
Justin Jefferson's happy.
Yeah.
I
already thought J.J. McCarthy got drafted into a great situation because Kevin O'Connell imagine going from Jim Harbaugh and then to Kevin O'Connell from a quarterback development standpoint, but also a play calling standpoint. I feel even better about it now because now you're getting to sit behind a guy who is playing well. So, best case scenario, Sam Darnold just continues to play well. J.J. McCarthy's back there soaking that up. Vikings are going to be good.
As much as we talk about that offense, and that offense has like a shout out Brian Flores and that defense.
That defense, man.
They're absolutely running around and just confusing people, and that's hard to do in the NFL. All right, let's go to a $5 donation from Miranda. Appreciate it, Miranda. As you know, I went to school with Aaron Jones. Our middle school colors were green/yellow like the Packers, and our high school colors were purple and yellow like the Vikings. It's crazy how everything comes full circle.
Yeah.
Get him on the show.
It's the Matrix.
Yeah. So let's see if we can get him. $10 donation from David. Appreciate it, David. Y'all remember Damian Pierce? Guy should have been a starter his final year, but got screwed over by Mullen. He still bled for Florida. A player with that kind of pride doesn't come around often anymore.
I'm trying to sneeze. I agree with you. All right, it went away.
You okay? $5 donation from Tyler. Appreciate it, Tyler. Watching CNC while waiting on Helena to make her appearance.
Let's go.
Waiting on a hurricane is like getting stalked by a turtle.
It is, but you know what we do? We batten down the hatches and we might have got 8.
And prayers for everybody who's going to get hit by a hurricane.
Yeah, including us.
Yeah. So just be safe out there. Be smart. Don't go outside.
And if they tell you to leave, leave. Okay, like just if they tell you to leave, leave.
All right, last donation of the day. Really appreciate it, guys. A $2 donation from Hunter, answering he's put $100 on his bet.
Okay, that's is that the guy that bet you the?
No, that's the 11-leg parlay.
He put $100
on it, so you win $108K. That is correct. I love it. I'm going to ride with you. I'll put 100 on it, too. All right, poll. Who is this game more important to? Kirby Smart or Kalen DeBoer?
I'm going to say they said Kalen DeBoer because it's his first time, not just because of the schedule circumstance at 58%.
Man, that's pretty solid. I think it's Kalen DeBoer, too. Kirby's got the 2 natties. 59 or 57? 59%.
Kirby Smart, 56%.
Wow, okay.
Kalen DeBoer, 44%.
I tell you what.
Man. I just like burgers, man. Hey, we appreciate you guys. Make sure you hit that subscribe button. Great call-ins as usual. We are on the road tomorrow. Going to have a great show for you as well. Locks, Leans, and Dogs. Steve Dace is going to be on to talk Michigan. He's got a cool story, too, he wants to share with everybody else. So make sure you check that out tomorrow and get ready to watch that live stream Saturday. If you're not going to the game and you're in town, head over to Innisfree. If you're not going to the game and you're not in town, make sure you watch the game with us. We're going to be breaking it down and having a good old time. We appreciate you guys and like the chances of it not being turned up in T-Town. We're going.
Ooh.
Gone.
Hands, kid.
Mittens. It ain't even cold out.